After that, you've got your consultation. So you've got the schedule. They're going to come in. Hopefully, when they've scheduled the session, they received an email saying, we are going to sit down and have a conversation about what we discussed, about your goals. We're going to do a movement assessment to take a look at your muscle balance, whatever it is, your movement quality. Then we're going to do a workout based on that assessment. And then we're going to go ahead and, if we're interested, we'll talk about programming. What that means is sales. Don't say we're going to talk about sales, not that you would, but whenever you say, like, we'll talk about programming at the end, that is euphemistic. If you tell them in your position statement, I use movement assessments in order to create a program, then you got to do that. If it's going to be, I do circuit training, or I do animal flow, or whatever it is that you say that you do in your position statement on your website, when you text them, whatever it is, it really has to kind of like follow through, because we are setting a bunch of expectations on what they're going to expect. We're setting a bunch of expectations. Those expectations have to be manifested. And so it's very important that however we position ourselves is also our process. So I would actually go backwards, think about what your process is, what you currently do, and then make your position statement generally based on that. We as trainers don't like surprises. So I need to know what your aches and pains are before we go out there on the floor and we have some aches and pains. I need to know what your experience level is with exercise before I go out there and I'm like, okay, we're going to have you do the furry midget on a leash. And they're like, I've never heard of that exercise. So I want to know what they know so I can kind of work with them. Once again, people that typically seek out a personal trainer, they don't know what that experience is like. They don't know about exercise. They don't know about training. They don't know about consultations or anything. So we have to say, this is what we're doing. Now we're going to go here. Now we're going to go here. I like to use very inclusive language to almost seem like we're already a team. So instead of saying, okay, what you're going to do is this assessment, I'm like, we're going to go do this assessment. And then we're going to go ahead and work out. And then we. So they're already picking up these cues that we are doing things together, that it's kind of like a team as opposed to you. That can kind of not just give people like a feeling of separation. It's just not going to help people feel like they're belonging or they're a part of something, right? You are their guide. Hey, listen, you're with me. Like, imagine going to a party by yourself at a house you've never been to with people that you've never been to. And the host was like, hey, okay, well, you're going to get food over here and you're going to go get drinks over there. And then you're going to go to the bathroom over there. You're like, you just told me you're going to go to the bathroom over there. That's really weird. But if they're like, hey, welcome to, hey, mi casa, su casa. We're going to have drinks over here. We're going to go play board games over here. When you start saying we to them, or they said we to you, you feel like you belong at the party versus, hey, you're going to go do these things. Everybody's got their process. I like to do some kind of an assessment that relates to the program. And I tell them that thing. So if they can understand some kind of a logic train, they'll be with you the whole time. But if I just said, all right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at you're going to do this squat and I'm going to write on my notepad and then we're going to foam roll, they're going to be like, I don't see any connection between these things. This is now weird. And the more a person understands the overall process, they can commit to it. If it feels like it's just kind of sporadic activities that they're doing, they don't know why they're doing it, they're not going to do it. When I do my consultations, I pretty much go in this order. We start with the conversation that was kind of like from the questionnaire, which is more or less, what do you want to do and why can't you do it? What are your limitations, which they've already kind of discussed, and what are your kind of goals? And I'll say, this has been very helpful. Thank you so much. Now we're going to go in and do the movement assessment, tell them exactly how that works and what we're trying to do and what we look at. Afterwards, I'm like, okay, well, based on this, so you notice how your knees were moving in. That's letting me know that your adductors are a little bit tight or your, glutes are a little bit weak. So we're going to be doing some foam rolling and stretching on your adductors, and we're going to do some core exercises to give you a nice strong butt. And then from there, we're going to do some resistance exercises that should be somewhat related to, call it functional movement, if that's generally their thing, right? So I'll do maybe some cable stuff, some exercises that I know will pretty much work with them. A big value that clients get is not exercise. especially if they're like, I don't know what I'm doing, which is a lot of people. It's helping someone get a little bit better. They do not need to be perfect, but if you set them up, okay, you're going to do this thing. You do a tell, show, do process. Tell them what you're going to do. We're going to do a push up on the floor. Show them. You'll demonstrate each part. I'm going to go on the floor, put my hands on the ground. Tuck my chin, lower my chest towards the ground. You tell them what you're going to do, and then do it. And then they do that same thing, and you give them a small correction. Hey, you did really well at managing your tempo. I want you to try and push your body up a little bit higher. And then you can give them a small adjustment, like, okay, now we're going to go ahead and do it again. So when it comes to feedback, it's not just, hey, you did that thing. I want next time you should do it this way. You have to give them the opportunity to manifest better. And that little chunk is going to be like when you go to Costco and you have like a little appetizer. You don't need to have the whole meal to buy it. You just need to know the morsel of it. So if people see that you can communicate to them what they're doing and then give them a small adjustment that makes them better, that's metaphorically what people are going to be investing in long term. You don't need to make them great. They need to be better. And then at the end, they've just been through this weird whirlwind. And sometimes it's like, what the fuck did I just do? So I like to ask them, hey, what is something that you enjoyed about the workout? So it's not like, what did you like about it? That's too open question. It's like, what did you enjoy? And I'll just let them think. So maybe they say, oh, I like that you do an assessment and they make a program. I like that you fixed my posture. I liked your dad jokes. Whatever it is, it's getting them to think about what they've enjoyed. When it comes to moving towards the commitment end of things, figure out the schedule first. It doesn't make sense to say, hey, you've now agreed to 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then you're not available at 7 o'clock in the morning. So say what we're going to do is like, check out the schedule. And then if you're interested, we'll talk about programming. Programming is always sales. Let's look and see if the schedule aligns first. So you sit there on the computer or whatever it is, and you're like, okay, well, I've got, 2 or 3 days a week. How many could you do? 2 or 3 days a week? They're like, oh, okay, 2 days a week. Okay, here, looking at this, they can see what spots I have open, what spots I don't. And so they're like, oh, yeah, I can. Okay, so yeah, Monday at 7 a.m., I can do that. And let's see, what else? Nah, I got to go pick up the kids from school on Wednesday, so I could do Thursday. God, Thursday's a little tight, but I think I can move a meeting around so I could come in like Thursday at 11 a.m. So you're like, okay, so Monday at 7, Thursday at 11. They're like, yeah, I can do that. You're like, all right, time to now look at prices. So always do the schedule first. We're not going to go into presenting prices or overcoming objections. There's a thick kind of sales end of things that's just not a subpart of the funnel we're going to be discussing. But if we, from our positioning, our professionalism, communication, logic with the assessment, overall attitude has warmed them up and they feel comfortable, they will try and find a way to pay for it, to basically not just pay for it, commit to working with you. So if they can see how working with you will solve the problems, both tactile and emotional, strategic and emotional. Ah, man, when I go to the gym, I feel really anxious. When I'm with you, Mark, I feel very calm. I'm like, yes. So they should get a glimmer of that a little bit. And they say, yeah, let's go ahead and do, the 24 sessions. Boom, collect money. You want to do it cash, check, Venmo, Zelle. If you got a credit card, it's going to be this. You're like, how do we want to go ahead and pay for it? And then you try and arrange that payment right then and there. Hey, when do you want your first session to start? I don't know. You want to go like in an hour? Do you want to go tomorrow? Like, hey, let's go as soon as we can. So once you because you did the scheduling first, once they pay for it, boom, you've already got your next meeting set. You don't have to then go into, all right, now we decided that. Now let's figure out more stuff. You want payment to be the easiest last decision that needs to be made. So that's why scheduling first. Because once they pay, they're out. Um, if for any number of reasons they need time, sometimes the sticker price has a shock value. I would love to train 2 days a week. How many thousands of dollars is it? Depending on what echelon of people that you're working with, they'll be like, yeah, okay. But a lot of people are going to be like, hold on, I gotta get a new roof. They have to start kind of, if they're going to pick up training, they may have to put down something else. And so some people may need to think about it. They're like, I got to run this by my husband or wife. You're like, I totally understand that. You could have overcome that objection. Do you think your wife would mind if you invested in yourself, if you lost whatever it is? But you want to give them the brevity to do things and just follow up. Hey, when can I kind of like when can I follow up with you at the end of the day? When is it comfortable? Tomorrow? Like, oh yeah, follow up with me tomorrow afternoon. And then tomorrow afternoon, you set your alarm and then you go ahead and reach out. Boom. So schedule them, then discuss the program. We'll spend a month basically improving your movement pattern. We'll spend another month improving your overall strength and capacity by adding load. And then in the third month, there's a bunch of different directions that we can go, and we'll have another discussion. So if you want to do a 3-month commitment, which is what I suggest, 3 days a week is ideal. That would be 36 sessions at this price. 2 days a week is also totally fine. It's going to be our 24 sessions. It's going to be at this price. There's something called price anchoring. You can never really negotiate something to be more expensive. So if you tell someone, okay, you want to lose 50 pounds at roughly 1 pound per week, that's going to be 50 weeks. If you train 2 days a week for 50 weeks, that's going to be about 100 sessions. At about $100 a session for 100 sessions, that's going to be about $10,000. They're like, what? I'm not going to give you $10,000. Totally understand. That's just your program. How much time do you think you can kind of commit to? And they're like 3 months. We're like, all right, $2,400. Well, that is way better than 10,000. If you just said, give me $2,400, they're like, that's a big sticker price. But if you price anchored on the biggest thing, then something that is lower than that is relatively better.